An old remedy around 400 years before Christ, the man we still call the father of medicine, Hippocrates kept a bottle of vinegar in his kit. He mixed it with honey into a tonic for coughs and sore throats, and he poured it straight over wounds to clean them, and he was nowhere near the first. Thousands of years before him, the Babylonians were already making vinegar from dates and using it to preserve their food and treat the sick. Vinegar is one of the very oldest useful substances human beings have ever made. Its name literally comes from the French for sour wine, because that's how it was discovered, wine left too long. For 4,000 years, across every great civilization, people reached for this sour liquid, and it genuinely worked for them. So when the internet tells you it's a garden miracle, that's not crazy on its face. Vinegar really does have real power. The videos are just missing the one thing every one of those ancient users understood in their bones, and every modern thumbnail hides from you. Hold on to that because it's the whole point of the next 10 minutes. So you've seen the videos. Pour vinegar on your garden and watch what happens. The weeds shrivel, the soil comes alive, the tomatoes explode with growth, and that phrase, watch what happens, is exactly right. You should watch what happens. The problem is that every one of those videos stops watching about 12 hours. Too early. Here's what I did, and it's the whole difference. I sprayed vinegar on a patch of weeds, took a photo, and put a note in my calendar. And then I did the one thing not a single miracle video does. I didn't post the photo from that first morning, even though it looked amazing. I waited. I let 2 full weeks go by. And then I came back and took a second photo of the exact same patch of ground from the exact same angle. And those 2 photos, side by side, 14 days apart, tell a story that no vinegar miracle video will ever, because showing you the second photo would end the whole genre. I'll put both of them in front of you in a few minutes, and then I'll show you how to take your own pair. Because here's the truth, this whole video turns on. Anyone can film day 1. Your garden is decided on day 14. The one habit that changes everything, lock this in, because it's the single habit that will protect your garden from every bad tip you ever see. Anyone can film day 1, but your garden is decided on day 14 almost. Every vinegar miracle is a day 1 trick. In the first hour, in the first morning, vinegar does something dramatic and photogenic. Leaves collapse, crust dissolves, a meter needle jumps. It looks like magic, and it's the perfect moment to hit record. But a garden doesn't live in the first hour. It lives over weeks and seasons. And when you keep watching, when you come back on day 3, on day 14, half of those miracles quietly undo themselves. And 1 or 2 of them turn out to have hurt you in a way you couldn't see on day 1. Think about how much of gardening advice is really just day 1 theater. A plant that looks lush the day you feed it. A weed that wilts the hour you spray it. A soil reading that jumps the moment you pour. All of it is real in the instant, and almost none of it tells you what your garden will actually look like in 2 weeks. Which is the only thing that matters. Because you have to live with the 2 weeks version, not the photo. The whole reason people feel like they've got a black thumb is that they keep judging their garden on day 1 and getting fooled over and over by tricks that were never going to last. Learn to wait for day 14 and you stop being fooled permanently. So that's how we're going to do this, and it's the honest way. First, I'll show you exactly what vinegar does in hour 1, the real dramatic stuff, the videos film, because a lot of it genuinely is real. Then I'll show you the test I ran, day 1 versus day 14, with my own eyes and my own calendar. Then we'll walk each of those hour 1 miracles forward 2 weeks and see which vanish, which survive, and which one leaves damage behind that you can't undo. By the end, you'll never judge a garden trick by its first morning again, and you'll be quietly immune to every watch what happens thumbnail on the internet, including the ones that got you to click this. If the whole illusion lives in the gap between day 1 and day 14, then the smart move is simple. Let's watch both, starting with the part they love to film, hour 1. Hour 1, the part they film, let's be fair to vinegar, because the day 1 drama is not fake. In the first hour, this cheap bottle really does put on a show, and here's exactly what you'll see. Spray it on a patch of green weeds, and within a few hours, the leaves darken, curl, and wilt. By the next morning, they look brown and stone dead. That's completely real. Vinegar is a mild acid. An acid burns and dries out the plant cells it lands on, so the leaves it actually touches genuinely collapse. It looks like a kill. Pour a splash on your soil and push in a cheap pH meter, and you'll watch the number slide down, the soil turning measurably more acidic right there in front of you. Also real, because you just poured acid on it. Soak a crusty, mineral-stained clay pot in vinegar and water, and within half an hour that stubborn white crust you could never scrub off starts melting away. Drop a seized-up, rusty old trowel in a jar of straight vinegar, and the rust begins lifting off the metal on its own. Set a jar of apple cider vinegar on the counter, and the fruit flies that have been tormenting, you find it and dive in within minutes. Every single one of those is a genuine, visible hour one result. I'm not going to pretend they're staged, because they're not. Vinegar really does all of that fast. And that speed is exactly the problem, because fast and dramatic is precisely what makes a good video and a bad decision. Every one of those is a genuine, visible hour one result. And I want you to notice something. This is the exact footage in every vinegar video you've ever watched. Wilting weeds, a dropping pH number, a sparkling pot, all captured in the first hour, when vinegar looks unstoppable. If the story ended here, vinegar would be the miracle they promise. But you already know it doesn't end here, because I told you the garden is decided on day 14, not day 1. So the real question isn't, what does vinegar do in the first hour? It's, which of these hour 1 miracles are still true 2 weeks later? That's the test I ran, and it's the test that changes everything. The test I ran, personal. Proof, mid of script. Here's what I actually did, and here's how you can copy it exactly, because I'd much rather you trust your own 2 photos than my word. I picked the deadest, most stubborn patch of weeds along my path, healthy, green, well-rooted. I filled a spray bottle with plain household vinegar, and I soaked those weeds until the leaves dripped the way every video tells you to. Then I did the one thing those videos never do. I took a photo, wrote the date on my calendar, and I promised myself I would not decide anything until I came back. D1. The next morning the photo looked incredible. Brown, curled, collapsed weeds. If I had posted that picture with the caption, "Vinegar killed my weeds overnight," you would have believed me, and I would have been lying, not with the photo, but with the timing. So I waited. I sat on my hands through the part where it looked like a win, and I let the full 2 weeks run. And on day 14, I stood in the exact same spot, held my phone at the same angle, and took the second photo, and the weeds were green again. Not new weeds that blew in, the very same plants, pushing fresh, healthy shoots straight up out of the same roots that had been sitting there underground the whole time, completely untouched. The vinegar had scorched every leaf it could reach and never once got down to the root. So the plant just shrugged, grew itself a brand new top, and carried on as if I'd never sprayed a thing. 2 photos, same patch of ground, 14 days apart. The first one screams miracle. The second one whispers myth. And the honest one, the one that tells you what your garden will actually do, is always the second one. If I'd made a video on day 1, I'd have thousands of people spraying vinegar on weeds that were going to come right back on them. And this isn't just my garden. University extension programs, Montana State and the University of Maryland among them, have tested household vinegar on weeds under real conditions and found exactly this. 5% vinegar burns the top growth but does not kill established roots, so the weeds regrow. I also ran the quieter version of the same test with a pH meter. Poured vinegar on a pot of soil, watched the pH drop on day 1, came back on day 3, and the number had climbed right back to where it started. Same lesson, twice. Day 1, dramatic. Day 14, gone. So if the weeds just grow back and the pH just bounces back, why does every single video swear vinegar works? Because they add things to make it stick. And those things are exactly where your garden gets hurt. The photo didn't lie to me. The calendar did. So let's look at what actually happens over those 2 weeks. 2 weeks. 2 weeks later. What actually happened? Let's walk each hour 1 miracle forward to day 14 and see which survive, because this is where the truth lives, the wilted weeds. Gone by day 14, regrown from the roots, exactly as my 2 photos showed. A top kill, never a real kill, on anything bigger than a fresh seedling. There's a narrow, honest exception, and I'll give it to you. Because I promised honesty both ways. A tiny young annual weed, one that hasn't stored real energy in its roots yet, growing in a crack where you want nothing to live, a hot day vinegar, soak, really can finish that off because it has no reserves to regrow from. On the right small target, the burn is the whole plant, but on anything established, day 14 wins every time. The drop soil gone by day 3. And here's precisely why, because it's the key to the single most popular vinegar myth there is. Acetic acid, the acid in vinegar, is a simple organic molecule, and your soil is absolutely teeming with microbes whose entire job is to eat organic molecules and break them down. So when you pour vinegar on soil, the pH drops for a day or two, and then those microbes swarm the acid, digest it completely, and the pH floats right back up to where it started, as if you'd done nothing. Because in the only way that lasts, you did nothing. You didn't acidify your soil for your blueberries and hydrangeas. You handed the bacteria a free snack and they said thank you. To actually lower soil pH and keep it low for acid lovers, you need something the microbes can't just eat over a weekend. Elemental garden sulfur, worked in ahead of time, which soil organisms slowly convert into a lasting drop over weeks. Vinegar is a firework. Sulfur is a sunrise. One flashes and dies. In a second, the other comes up slow and actually stays. And there's a myth that fails even faster than 14 days. Spraying vinegar on your leaves to kill fungus or mildew. It follows the exact same rule that burned my weeds. Acetic acid scorches living plant tissue on contact, so when you spray it on your plant's own leaves hoping to kill a fungus, you are pointing a leaf burner directly at the leaves you're trying to rescue. You can easily finish the plant off faster than the disease would have. And the actual evidence that vinegar reliably controls plant disease out in a real garden is thin at best. There are gentler, better studied options for leaf fungus. Spraying vinegar on living foliage is a gamble where the thing you're betting is the plant itself, and that's a bad bet on any timeline. So, look hard at the pattern by day 14, because it's the same pattern every single time. The weeds came back, the pH came back, the fungus spray risked burning the plant you were saving. Every last thing vinegar did to something alive turned out to be dramatic on day 1 and shallow, temporary and undone by day 14. And that is not bad luck, and it's not you doing it wrong. It is simply the defining nature of a weak acid that living soil and living plants are built to shrug off within days. Living things fight back. They regrow, they digest, they recover. That's what alive means. Which raises the one obvious question that flips this whole video from a warning into a useful tool. Is there anything vinegar does in the garden that actually lasts past day 14? There absolutely is. And the difference between what lasts and what fades is so clean, so simple, that once you see it, you'll be able to predict every vinegar tip on earth before you even try it. The uses that pass the 14-day test here are the vinegar. Uses that look exactly as good on day 14 as they did on day 1. And there's one clean reason they last. Every one of them points vinegar at something that isn't alive, so there are no roots to regrow and no microbes to undo the work. That crusty clay pot? On day 14, it's still spotless. And on day 40 and day 400, until it crusts up again from new water, at which point you just do it again. The white crust was calcium carbonate, a dead mineral, the exact same stuff as chalk and limestone, and the scale in an old kettle. And once the acid dissolves a mineral, it is simply gone, permanently, because a mineral has no roots and no life and cannot grow back. Soak your stained terracotta pots in 1 part vinegar to 4 parts warm water for half an hour, and they come out looking brand new and stay that way, no scrubbing your arm off. The green scale and film on a bird bath or a stone fountain is the same story. A weekly scrub with straight vinegar keeps it clean, and this matters. Leaves water that's genuinely safe for your birds to drink, with no harsh chemical residue near your wildlife. Week after week, it just works. Your rusty tools pass the 14-day test too. Rust is iron oxide, another dead mineral the acid loosens and dissolves. Drop your seized-up old pruners and trowels in a jar of undiluted vinegar overnight. Scrub them with a brush, and then do the one honest step the quick videos skip. Dry them completely and wipe on a light coat of oil, because vinegar is mostly water, and a tool left damp will simply start rusting all over again in a few days. Do that, and dead tools stay rescued for a whole season. A full set of tools brought back of a bottle. And the fruit fly trap, a jar of apple cider vinegar with 1 drop of dish soap, passes every test there is because it works on the fly's sense of smell, not on any living tissue you care about. The vinegar smells like fermenting fruit and lures them in. The drop of soap breaks the surface tension so they sink instead of landing. It's the single most effective vinegar trick in the whole garden. It costs pennies, it's non-toxic, and it works on day 1, day 14, and every day after. The ant trail wipe is the honest half exception in this group. Wiping vinegar along their trails erases the scent signals they navigate by, so they scatter. But they lay a fresh trail in a few days, so it's a temporary reset, a nudge before a barbecue, not a permanent fix. I'd rather tell you that now than have you think you failed when they come back. See the line that just drew itself? Everything that passed the 14-day test, vinegar did to something dead. A mineral, a smell, a rusty blade. Everything that failed, it did to something alive. That one line predicts every vinegar tip you'll ever see. But there's one exception that's more dangerous than all the failures combined. Because it does last, and that's exactly the problem. The one that never fades, and that's the problem here is the trap. Because plain vinegar keeps failing on real weeds by day 14, every recipe online tells you to add a cup of salt to the mix. And salt does make it work. The weeds actually stay dead. So people think they finally cracked it. They didn't. They found the damaged stup and ask why the salt works. Because the why is the entire warning. Salt is the one ingredient in that recipe that does not fade on any timeline. The microbes can't eat it the way they eat the vinegar. It doesn't break down. Rain doesn't kindly rinse it away. It sinks into your soil and accumulates a little more with every single spray, drawing the water out of every living thing it touches and sterilizing the ground. Not for a day like the vinegar, but for years, for anything you might ever hope to grow in that spot again. So the ingredient that finally makes the vinegar weed killer hold up on day 14 is the exact same ingredient that quietly poisons your soil for the next several years. You think you found the secret that fixes the recipe. What you actually found is the damage, hiding in plain sight. Armies in the ancient world salted the fields of cities they wanted, left barren forever, so nothing would ever grow there again. That is the precise mechanism people are cheerfully spraying around their vegetable beds to deal with a few dandelions. So the honest rule is simple. That salt and vinegar spray belongs only in the cracks of a driveway or a gravel path, where you want a permanent dead zone and nothing else. Never in a bed, never near roots you love, never where the runoff drains into good soil. The thing that makes it work is the thing that makes it dangerous. So 2 of vinegar's most famous uses either vanish by day 14 or poison your soil past it. Which leaves one honest question: why does the fantasy version spread so far, so fast, when the truth is this clear? The answer is the whole reason for the day 14 rule. Why every video stops filming on day 1. Here's the honest reason, and I'm not going to hand you a conspiracy because there isn't one. Pour this $2 bottle and watch your weeds die overnight is a thrilling day 1 video that stops your thumb cold. Come back in 2 weeks and watch those same weeds grow right back is a boring video that nobody clicks and nobody shares. So the exciting incomplete version races around the internet and the calm, complete, true version crawls. Nobody's secretly getting rich lying to you about a kitchen staple. There's no villain in a boardroom here. It's something quieter and harder to fight. The whole illusion lives in the gap between day 1 and day 14, and a camera is free to stop recording anywhere it likes. And it almost always stops on the exact morning the weeds look deadest. That's the entire magic trick, and it's worth naming clearly. It isn't a lie about what you see in the video. Everything you see is real. It's a lie about when they stopped filming. They showed you a true thing and hid the true thing that came after it. Once you know that, the spell is broken for good. And let me be straight about the honest limits, because that's the whole point of this channel. Vinegar is a genuinely useful garden tool for the handful of jobs that pass the 14-day test: cleaning pots, bird baths, and glass, derusting tools, and trapping fruit flies. Excellent, reliable, permanent, every one of them, and I'd defend all of them against anybody. What vinegar is not, on any timeline you measure, is plant food. There is no nutrient in that bottle. Go read the label. It says acetic acid and water and nothing else. It builds no soil, feeds no root, grows no tomato, wakes no worm. You cannot feed a plant with something that contains no food, no matter how dramatic it looks on day one. So this instant a video points that bottle at your living soil and promises growth or fertility or a miracle harvest, you already know the day 14 answer without even running the test. Best case, nothing happened. Worst case, you did quiet damage. It's a cleaning tool that lives in the shed, not a fertilizer that lives by the compost, and no amount of watch what happens will ever change what's actually inside the bottle. So let me put the whole timeline together. Hour 1, day 14, and the one that never fades. In a single pass, you can act on this weekend and leave you with the test that ends every vinegar argument forever, because the bottle was never the liar. The calendar was the verdict, recap, plus the cliffhanger. So here's the whole thing, start to finish, on a timeline. Anyone can film day 1. Your garden is decided on day 14. In hour 1, vinegar puts on a completely real dramatic show, wilting weeds, a dropping pH number, a sparkling pot, and that hour 1 show is the exact footage every miracle video is built from, which is why they all feel so convincing. But you know better now, so you keep watching. And by day 14, the story flips. The weeds have grown right back from roots the acid never reached, and the soil pH has bounced back to where it started because the microbes simply ate the acid for lunch. The only uses that survive all the way to day 14 are the ones you pointed at something dead, dissolving the crust off pots and bird baths, eating rust off tools, trapping flies by their sense of smell because a dead mineral has no roots and can't grow back, and the salt that people add to make the weed killer finally work is the one single thing here that never fades, which is precisely why it quietly wrecks your soil for years. There is no fertilizer power anywhere in that bottle, on day 1 or day 1000. It's just an acid that does something loud and brief to living things, and something quiet and permanent to dead ones. Learn which is which, and you own this subject forever. Say the one line back to yourself before you believe any garden video again, mine included. Anyone can film day 1. The garden is decided on day 14. Do 2 things for me, and the first one matters more than anything else I've said. Run the 2-photo test yourself this weekend, because your own calendar will teach you this lesson harder than my voice ever could. Spray 1 patch of weeds, take a photo, and then, this is the entire point, don't skip it. Set a reminder in your phone for 2 weeks out, and when it goes off, go photograph the exact same spot again. Watch the weeds you were sure you killed. Stand right back up, green and healthy, out of roots the vinegar never touched. The moment you see that with your own 2 photos, you are done being fooled by a day 1 miracle, not just about vinegar, but about every quick garden trick anyone will ever sell you. That one habit is worth more than any tip in this video. Then come down to the comments and tell me what your 2 photos showed, 14 days apart. Because I honestly want to know how many of you watched those roots quietly win the way mine did. And then stick around, because next time I'm running this exact same day 1 versus day 14 test on the other kitchen miracle everyone swears by in the garden. Epsom salt, the one people promise will fix everything from yellow leaves to tasteless tomatoes. Its day 1 story is convincing. Its day 14 story is not what you've been told, and in most gardens it's doing nothing at all. Hit subscribe so it finds you when it drops. Until then, go spray the weeds, mark your calendar, and come back on day 14. The truth was always waiting there.